One of the common questions I get asked regarding the all-in-one is, what if I just make additional principal payments on my existing mortgage? Wouldn't that accomplish the same thing? Well, it's kind of like asking if I drive a Honda Civic or a Ferrari to the grocery store, which will get me there faster. Well, if you're driving the speed limit, both of them will get you there in the same amount of time. However, one of those vehicles gives you a lot more options. And so I thank you for checking out this video, and I'm going to dive right into it and share my screen with you. So I've gone ahead and pre-filled this screen for a purchase of a primary residence using a new all-in-one versus a traditional loan. All-in-one is a 1-month adjustable rate. The home value on the purchase would be $500,000, and with a 20% down payment, our loan balance would be $400,000. Looking at a 30-year fixed comparison loan rate as of today, clicking over here on Google, you can drop in today's date, your loan amount, down payment, state you're located in, credit score. I'm using 700 to 720, and that 30-year fix today with 0 points is 7.562. So we're using that as the rate, and that's going to give you a comparison loan payment of $28.1386. Now, instead of just saying, let's make one extra loan payment, let's say we make 2 extra loan payments a year. So we take that 2813.86 times 2. That's going to give us 5627 and 72 cents. Divide that by 12. And 468.97 is what we're going to add on to our monthly payment. And that's going to equate to us making 2 additional payments every year. Now we're looking at a 2-income household with repeat deposits coming in monthly of their income of $9,746. That's after their taxes and insurance deductions. And we're assuming that this couple has a one-time deposit of $30,000 that they keep roughly 3 times their monthly salary coming into an emergency fund, and they're going to be able to utilize that anytime they need it. But while they're not using it, they can use that $30,000 to offset their mortgage with the all-in-one. So we've got that $97.46 coming in. That's $116,952 a year, and that one-time deposit of $30,000. On the spending front, we've got that $32.82 and 83 cents going on the monthly mortgage payment. We have the $662 and 50 cents on estimated taxes and insurance. That could be slightly higher or lower depending on where you're located. And then we're saying that in addition to their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, they have another $4,338.77 that they spend on other monthly expenses. So roughly $9,746 coming in, $8,284 going out every month. So the reason that's an odd number is because I can only come in here and put in a percentage left over that's going to adjust that. And so using that number, it leaves us $1461.90. So again, the all-in-one is designed for people who are earning more than they spend. I calculate the results on this. And as we see on the all-in-one, you'll pay it off in 10.2 years versus 19.4 years by making those extra payments on your 30-year fixed. The amount of interest expense that you're going to save is $159,216. So while you are saving a significant amount of interest by making those additional payments every month, it's not going to come close to the additional savings of having that extra cash flowing through your account every night on a nightly basis and offsetting your principal balance. Now, one thing to point out here is the rate assumptions that we're using. And as of today's dates, interest rates remain at the high of the interest rate cycle. And this is assuming that we remain at the initial rate, which is currently 5.2 on the index. We have a margin of 4%. If someone has a larger down payment, that margin can go down or it can be purchased lower. But because the rate really doesn't affect your all-in-one, we just assume that you're going to stay at that 4% margin unless it's there naturally based on your down payment. That margin plus the index gives us that initial rate of 9.2. You have a floor rate of 3.75 and a maximum lifetime cap of 15.2. If we remain here, if the Fed never eases for that entire 10 years, those are the results that we're going to see is 10.2 years. Now, if we take a more reasonable approach and say, what happens if we go to the historical averages? And we can also say what happens if rates go up. Now, the Fed goes in quarter point increments. So if the Fed were to raise rates 4 more times from here, so they go 4 more times at 0.25%. So we add that 1% onto the rate. So that takes us up to 10.109. And we look at the results, and it really just increases it slightly to 10.9 years. You're still saving 119,000. Let's be even more drastic. Let's say the Fed raises 12 more times. Let's say interest rates go up 3% from here total. If I go to those results, you still come out paying it off in 12.4 years. You save 36,548 in interest. So even in a upward rising rate environment, the US would probably collapse long before then. But if that were to happen, just know that you're safe on this. More likely is the historic average. And I actually believe there's plenty of reason to think that we will go down below that. But if we use the historic average, that's going to take you down to 8.9 years and a total savings of over $230,000 in interest expense compared to making your payments and making those extra 2 payments a year on your existing current mortgage on a 30-year fixed. So taking the all-in-one, if you were to make that additional, let's say $100,000 lump sum payment on the comparison loan versus putting the $100,000 in on the all-in-one loan, same thing. The all-in-one is going to continue to perform better for you. Now, I've been doing mortgages for over 25 years, and I can say that people are often optimistic, as am I, about the best outcomes in the future. But what I've always encouraged people to do is look at not only what if things go good, but what if things go bad? What happens in those cases? So let's look at what happens if things go bad. Let's say, for example, God forbid, 5 years from now, someone in your family gets a cancer diagnosis. Let's say that there's a treatment out there that insurance won't approve, and it's $80,000. Now, on your traditional 30-year fixed that you've been making extra principal payments on, instead of saving that cash or having the ability to access that, you now are stuck with this large payment that you're going to have to continue to work while that loved one or yourself is going through those treatments, if you can even afford those treatments. Versus the all-in-one, here's how that looks. We can go to the pay down table, and we can see after 5 years, scrolling down here on the left, at 60 months on the all-in-one, you will have paid down just shy of $200,000 in principal reduction. On your comparison loan, you've paid down $55,366. Now that's after the first 60 months, and that's including those additional 2 payments that you're making every year built into your monthly payments. So in this scenario, you still have to continue making those payments versus on the all-in-one. Again, I said, let's say it was an $80,000 treatment that was available as an option that insurance didn't cover. You have the ability to simply write a check for the $80,000. You still have $119,000 available that if you wanted to take the time off work, or you're the one with the cancer diagnosis that needed to take time off work, you could go for 14 months before your loan balance would go back up to that amount. You wouldn't necessarily need to be making the same payments because you don't have to worry about the extra payments towards principal reduction. So your actual payments that you would need to cover are much lower. But again, on the comparison loan, that amount is not going to reduce for you just because you're not able to work or you want to be able to take time off away from work. Those payments are going to remain coming in month after month. And on the all-in-one, you don't have a mortgage payment requirement. We would simply add the interest back onto your mortgage every month up to that initial $400,000 amount. Again, a ton of flexibility. So enough of the bad. Let's go back and look at what happens if things go good. So going back to that pay down table, we said that just shy of 10 years at month 107, we have now paid off the entire $400,000 loan versus the all-in-one. We've paid down $115,000. We still have a $284,000 mortgage balance that needs to be paid off. So at this point in time, you've got some options. Let's say you want to buy an investment property. You can simply open up your drawer, pull out your all-in-one checkbook, and write a check and pay cash for a $400,000 condo, let's say. Maybe it's a future retirement or second home down in Destin, Florida, along the beach. You buy that, you use it as a vacation spot, and you use it as a short-term rental when you're not using the property. Or you simply buy an investment property where you're currently living. Either way, you have the ability to negotiate well because you can come in and pay cash and close immediately on that property. Again, let's say that you're using this as an investment and or short-term rental property. That additional income coming in, we're assuming that your income and your expenses haven't changed up to this point. And if that's the case, now those additional funds coming in from the rental income are going to pay off that $400,000 again, likely in half the time. So either way, it's a win-win. And now after 15 years, approximately, you're going to end up with two properties that are free and clear versus 15 years down the road, which would be 180 months. You've now paid off $253,000 on the initial loan on your 30-year fixed, and you still have an outstanding mortgage balance of $146,000 versus you've now added a additional property that you paid cash for, and your current property that you bought is also free and clear. Let's go back to one more thing to look at what if things go good? And that's the wealth accumulation tab on here. Now, we said that you're going to be paying off the all-in-one in 108 months. You're going to be paying off the traditional mortgage. If you're making those two extra payments, it's still going to take you 19.4 years. So that's going to be the 233 months. So for that period of time in between, from month 108 to month 233, you've got that additional cash flow that you're no longer making a monthly payment, and you can now be investing that. This has an investment rate of return of a conservative 5% and home appreciation at 3%. In all likelihood, most investment advisors are going to use 8 to 9%. So let's just use 8 in here. And home appreciation historically has been roughly 4.6%. If I update the results on that, you're looking at a total wealth accumulation forecast on the all-in-one of over 1.8 million versus the traditional mortgage of only 1.2 million. And again, you have an investment account balance of 0 at that month 233 versus an investment account that now has a balance of 645,000 plus the value of your property free and clear. The ability to put as much cash as you want into your all-in-one and have the access and ability to pull it back out is something that you can't do on any traditional mortgage. And for that reason, it makes it a far more powerful financial tool. If you've got any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to help you run through your numbers and your particular scenario. You can get that information in the box below. Thanks for checking out this video, and be sure to like and share it.